Stephen Guilbeault is a straight-up psychopath, void of emotion or compassion. Here he is today.
Colleagues, there is a reason why we're all gathered here today. As we begin our work for INC4, the oceans and land we're committed to protect are choking with plastic. We produce, buy, use, and throw away plastic irresponsibly and unsustainably. Plastic pollution is found in every corner of our planet. We are breathing, drinking, and eating it.
So here we are in Canada right now, struggling economically, struggling in a lot of different ways. People can't afford to pay their mortgages. People can't afford to pay for groceries. People can't afford to pay for gas. But instead, this radical cares more about the home in which we live instead of the tenants who live there. This is so typical of radical Marxists like Guilbeault. They have the entire structure of reality flipped entirely upside down. They've inverted it. Can you imagine a people, let's suppose a family, serving a home as if the home is master over them? It's nonsense. It's completely the opposite. We build homes to serve families. It's not as though we build families to serve homes. Likewise, the earth was made for us to be a service to us, to be a home for us, not the other way around. We're not supposed to serve the earth. The earth is supposed to serve us. But in Guilbeault's mind, all we're supposed to do is bow to Gaia and do whatever he, Guilbeault, tells us to do. Nonsense.
No, there is another way. Tackling this global crisis requires a renewed sense of commitment and a stronger partnerships between us all.
Right, so we can actually translate that term renewed sense of commitment and stronger partnerships between us all. That means socialism. It means Marxism. It means communism. Guilbeault has in his mind this radical idea to unite the world under men like his thumbs, under their iron fists, all in the name of love and security and protection and sustainability. It's garbage. We know what it really means. Big government, big socialism, big oppression.
It calls for new, ambitious action to stop global plastic production and waste from tripling by 2060. Let me share 3 reflections with you. First, success for me is adopting a global deal that speaks to people's needs and aspirations. Over the past 30 years, I have participated in the adoption of groundbreaking and historic international agreements. Yes, multilateralism can sometimes seem long and tedious, but it works when everyone feels represented. That's what we did when we adopted the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, and months later, the High Seas Treaty, or BBNJ, and the UAE Consensus at COP28 last year. This plastic crisis, just like climate change and loss of biodiversity, affects each community differently, and developing nations, indigenous peoples, and marginalized communities often bear disproportionate impacts.
Okay, so how do you actually protect the world? Like, how do you actually make sure this world stays clean? Because it's not with socialism, not what Guilbeault's preaching. We've seen socialist countries, and they are filthy. They are environmentally foul. Why? Because people struggling and starving for food have no time to clean up their streets. They're too busy trying to survive, scrape by. So the way that we ensure the world, our home, is as clean and as hospitable and habitable as possible is by ensuring that people can earn money, is by giving people the highest quality of life or allowing them to achieve it as possible. Why? Because when their quality of life is high, then they have time to clean up the streets or clean up the park or make new places of enjoyment for people across the community. Look at the difference between a capitalist nation that's earning money and a socialist nation that isn't earning money regarding their homes, regarding their communities. Which one is cleaner? What's cleaner? What's cleaner right now, Venezuela or Canada? One is more capitalist than the other. So Guilbeault's position here, his idea of imposing more socialism to keep the world clean is garbage. The exact opposite happens. In a socialist nation, people are so busy trying to not freeze to death that they have no time to clean up the streets, and so the streets become putrid.
That's why we must ensure that as we negotiate collective actions. These will address social and environmental injustices, prioritize the full participation of Indigenous peoples, and protect their rights. Second, we have a once-in-a-generation moment to finalize this international agreement. I'm glad that our closed-door meeting yesterday, Ministerial reaffirmed our commitment to land this deal this year.
It's actually, you wonder if Guilbeault even read this speech. He's like this every talk he gives. It's as though he's reading his piece of paper for the first time. It's like, have you even looked over the speech, Guilbeault? You sound confused and uncertain about what you're going to say next.
We have the solutions to meet this challenge. That's why this deal needs to be transparent and include measures to mobilize financial support from all sources. And it requires that everyone fulfills their respective obligations. Here at INC4, we reconfirm our intention to address fully the life cycle of plastics, from production to disposal, such as eliminating or restricting problematic and avoidable plastic products and chemicals of concerns, and developing design criteria or other targeted actions to make certain that the plastic we do produce and use can be safely recycled, remanufactured, and reused. It means improving the end-of-life management of plastics and action to reduce the release of plastics into the environment. My third reflection is that we can drive momentum by taking action at home. That's why today, on Earth Day, I'm pleased to announce the release of the Federal Plastics Registry. This important demonstration of Canada's commitment to end pollution and build a circular economy. The registry will require plastic producers to take more responsibility for the plastic they put on the market.
Right. So this is socialist garbage. This is nonsense. Another registry, another registry, another registry. Soon we'll have registries for absolutely everything. So government, as if they aren't already doing so right now, can watch our every move with a microscope. It is trash. It is such Orwellian nonsense. This is garbage. Guilbeault talks about protecting the earth. He talks about making sure the earth flourishes. But think about how he's going about it. Imagine you have a garden, a big garden. And let's suppose you say, we should let that garden do whatever it wants. We're not going to touch it. Instead, we have to remove ourselves from it and just let it grow as it wants to grow. That garden isn't kept. It doesn't flourish. Instead, it becomes overgrown, overrun with a variety of different foliage. No, if we want to keep the garden manicured, then we have to manicure it. If we want that garden to flourish, then we have to impose our direction upon it. We have to trim leaves and hedges. We have to practically be arborists. We have to pull weeds. We have to do all of these different exercises that keeps the garden in functioning condition. Likewise, with the world, if we want it to be, or if we want to maximize its quality, it's not as though we let it run wild. It's not as though we say, we'll let the earth do whatever it wants. Instead, it's the opposite. We have to manicure it. We have to trim it. We have to maintain it. And we have to impose our will upon it so that we can keep it growing and clean as it's supposed to be.
Every year from now on, they must declare the quantity and types of plastic they supply, how these plastics move through the economy, and how they are managed at the end of their life. The registry will provide critical information to measure progress, identifying gaps, and building a truly circular economy.
Right. So we, again, know exactly what that is. It just gives government more control and more power. Stephen Guilbeault is a radical. His Liberal government is radical. This bureaucracy is radical. And they would see us suffer and freeze in the dark if it meant saving the planet. It is trash. It's garbage because it's immoral. Why is it immoral? Because it cares more about the home than the families, or the people in this case, living inside it.